Hey everybody, welcome to this month's WEN Talk. Today is March 16th, 2023. I am Haley Gray. I am the founder of the Women's Entrepreneur Network, where every month we do an event, a speaking event, where we do amazing, inspiring talks from 6 speakers every month except December, which is more. We do 9 speakers in December. And we are here to inspire you and to have some fun together. So please give us a hello, give us a hi, give us some commentary, give us some chatter. Krylyn can actually see your comments. I can see your comments when you post them. So feel free to comment and interact with us just a little bit. And each of our amazing speakers is here today to pour out and pour into you and share with you their amazing story. So I want you to encourage them and give them a huge round of applause for being here. And with that, I'm going to give our stage to the amazing, fantastic, fantabulous Krylyn Peters. Welcome.
Wow. Thank you. I like, okay, I'm out, right? Like, I don't
You're
know how
here.
to follow that. Yeah. So thank you, Haley. Thanks so much for inviting me to speak to your group. So my name is Krylyn, and I am a psychotherapist, a coach, an educator, and a consultant, and obviously an entrepreneur as well. So what I wanted to do today is kind of talk with you a little bit about my observations over the last 3 years. So since the pandemic began, because I'm kind of in a unique perspective to see what's going on from kind of a bird's eye view. I've had a lot of different roles since the pandemic started, and I have some, I don't know, maybe some things to share that could be helpful, and just kind of some themes that I've been seeing and how I've shifted some of the work that I have done with people that I work with, whether those are clients in my private practice, work teams that I work with around the country, or other people that I work with through other things that I do. So just a little bit about kind of the pandemic when it first started and how things were kind of going. I noticed. No, I'm just going to be real here. So I was struggling a little bit myself. Well, probably a lot, and not only because we had this pandemic, but I at that time was doing just contract work. So my money went away, and that was like a very obviously challenging piece for me to have to deal with. I was doing mostly in-person on-site work, and that went away. So I had to pivot, and I used some tools that really helped me kind of deal with my own responses to not only financial loss, but other kinds of things that I was struggling with at the beginning of the pandemic, as I'm sure many of us were. And I'm going to share those with you because those have really kind of helped. A lot of the people that I work with, and I love teaching how to kind of work on those kinds of things. So what I've also been able to do. So quickly, I was able to reestablish and pivot to find other sources of income and new ways of working with people. So I went to mostly doing in-person work to online work, which has been a tremendous gift for me to be able to do, and I can reach more people. And so I have been able to do that through my private practice. I was also I was kind of recruited to do this position and run a part of a federal grant for the state of Arizona where I reside. And we were tasked with helping people in Arizona deal with the psychological impact of the pandemic. So I kind of had that bird's eye view statewide here. We did some individual work. I had a team working for me. We did a lot of group work and education and outreach to people within the community, especially people who were very vulnerable during that time. And so that I learned a lot from that. And we had to build up programming around resilience and teach different skills. Another role that I've had that's been really helped me kind of shift the way that I work is doing consulting with work teams around the country. And this is for people who have experienced traumatic loss, and that could be related to the pandemic. So death losses, could be traumatic injuries, people at the workplace, mass shootings, a lot of stuff that you see in the news, whether it's local news or national news. I have been a part of things like that as well to kind of help people deal with the aftermath of those things. And so there's a lot of things that I'm kind of going over with people and teaching them and kind of how to deal with the impact of things, whether they are traumatic, whether they are, I guess, kind of big T traumatic or little t traumatic. So it kind of depends. But for all of the things that people are dealing with, I kind of like to kind of give those skills and those tidbits. So let me just kind of talk about some of the themes that I have noticed since then. So the first is grief. So probably not a big surprise. There was an article that came out, I believe, is in the Wall Street Journal, I believe it was March of 2020, and it was written by grief. Actually, it wasn't written by. It was quoting grief expert David Kessler, and he talked about how the weirdness that we were feeling was grief, and that was the grief over many types of losses. So we have death losses and we have non-death losses. So when the pandemic started, we had, just a lot of kind of things up in the air. We had a lot of changes going on, and really people were struggling with so many different things. And what I have noticed over time is that um, people are struggling to move through grief in ways that feel like the grief is moving forward and completing. And often people are experiencing additional losses on top of what they've already experienced. Like I said, whether those are death losses or non-death losses. So non-death losses can be things like I experienced loss of income, people. The loss of independence, loss of autonomy, just loss of freedoms, things like that. There's just so many different things. I know, a lot of parents working at home and having their kids at home for school, and then just kind of mandates were back and forth with kids returning to school. So there's just so many different losses that have kind of come up that have been different and new and very challenging for a lot of people. And those things, have kind of calmed down. But what I've noticed is that there's still this undercurrent of grief that's happening with a lot of people. And like I said, there's like one loss after another, and it doesn't necessarily mean that each loss we kind of take it in the same way or experience it in the same way, because grief is such a very personal thing, and we don't necessarily know how we're going to be affected by a loss until it's right there in our face. But I have talked to so many people who are just really struggling with having one thing after another and feeling like they can't catch their breath. So I've noticed that. But there's like I said, this underlying current where grief is kind of running in the background. And of course, not only the pandemic, but so many other things have happened on a worldwide level, as well as in our country here in the United States, and locally and regionally as well. So just thinking about all the things that have happened, all the news that we've been exposed to, and there's just this kind of grief that is happening, and people are really struggling with that. And what I've noticed is that kind of leads to my second theme, which is burnout. And whew, I kind of have this scale of like, how crunchy are you on the burnout scale? And it's pretty real out there. When the pandemic started, a lot of our healthcare workers were really struggling. Obviously, they were overtaxed, overburdened. There were not enough resources to support them. I also was blessed to do on-site work about a year into the pandemic, and going into hospitals and working with frontline healthcare workers as they were dealing with the intensity of the pandemic. So I got to see that firsthand, and how their burnout, like they just did not have time to deal with it. And that's often how things go when we have a lot of things that are going on, and we're really focused in on the work that we're doing, the impact that we're having, and we kind of put ourselves on that back burner. And when we do that, we're just trying to get through, trying to make it through, cope with the task at hand, and then it's this delayed reaction. So people in my profession, we know, like, we saw this coming. As soon as the pandemic started, we knew that once people started to, like, not people, but just all the things started to calm down a little bit, I guess is the best way to say it. We knew that the mental health issues were going to kind of rise up. And that's what we're seeing now, is we're seeing a lot of increase in things like grief and anxiety and depression that are kind of running rampant right now. We kind of call it the healthcare crisis was the pandemic, and now we're kind of in that aftermath of the mental health crisis right now. And people are really struggling with emotions, and there's just a lot more complication and more challenging emotions that we're seeing, where people are trying to deal with the idea of holding space for two often conflicting emotions at the same time, and that can be a challenge. So what I've done is, having these themes of grief and burnout, really early on, 3 years ago, right after the pandemic started, I started doing a lot of consulting work, and I kind of coined this term of self-care on steroids. And this is kind of a 4-step model that I teach on how do we kind of look at our self-care now that things are not necessarily working the way that they were. And that's kind of another theme of what I've seen, is that people's routines are just not working in the same ways. Like, even if we had things kind of set up in a certain way, we have kind of our autopilot mode and these routines that we have. And when I'm talking about self-care, I'm really talking about how do we manage our mind, our body, and our soul. So all the kind of different components to self-care. And they just kind of, like, some things kind of went out the window there for a while. And maybe they still are. I don't know. It just depends, right? So I'm going to just kind of go over these 4 steps, just the things that I teach people on how to kind of look at self-care and what can be really helpful as you're kind of moving through this undercurrent of grief and burnout. So one is looking at what is working. So often we have routines in place that we've had in place for a really long time, and we just do them on autopilot. And so we want to really take a look at what is working, because we tend to forget. If it's on autopilot, we're not consciously thinking about it, and therefore it's really, really easy to forget that that is something that is supporting us in taking care of ourselves. So figuring out what is working. So really thinking about it. So maybe from the time you get up in the morning, like, what am I doing? What are the hygiene habits that I have? What are the nutrition and the health and the movement and other types of self-care routines that are working well? And I'm also going to say that I'm a big proponent of writing things down. So I don't know if you could tell, but I'm a middle-aged woman. And so I'm in that stage where, like, it's hard to remember things sometimes. But I'm also a busy professional. So that's another way that I'm really, it's hard to remember. So kind of that double whammy. So I always tell people, like, if I don't write it down, I'm not going to remember. And even if I do write it down, I still may not remember. So that's kind of my little inside joke. But I will say it can be really helpful to write this stuff down. So writing down what is working within your self-care routines. And then the next thing in this 4-step model, so number 2, is what is not working. So what is not working? Just kind of thinking about these are the things that I've done for a long time, but this just isn't working. And maybe it's something that we abandoned. Maybe it's a routine that was working for a really long time and we stopped doing it. We stopped doing it consistently. But just taking a look at those things and then write those down as well. Step 3 is what needs to be changed. So thinking about maybe something that isn't working as well. So sometimes we want to just kind of abandon it, right? Like, oh, if it's not working, I'm just going to not do it anymore. But maybe we just need to tweak it a little bit. So what are the things that we need to work on? What's something that we can do a little bit differently within that routine? It could be looking at, like, is this the best time of day for this to happen? Is this the best day of the week for this to happen? Do I have enough time to do this? Am I feeling energized when I do this? Am I feeling depleted? Do I need support in doing this? So just kind of examining what are little ways that you can kind of tweak it to make it work a little bit better, to see if it still will work, and that you can kind of add that back in to your routine. One thing that I also like to say with what needs to be changed is that like I said, we can kind of abandon those things, and we really don't want to do that. We really want to kind of figure out what things can be really helpful to and to just take a look at. I'm sorry, just totally lost my train of thought there. So I'm going to just move on to step 4. So what needs to be added? So this is where, we've got the things that we know that work. We have things that we have abandoned that maybe we've tweaked a little bit. And then now what can be added? And this is the real big thing that I've been teaching people, is like, what are the new things to try? So this might be something, it could be something that you abandoned a long time ago and you want to start it up again. But it could be something that you've been wanting to try for a long time. So thinking about that, again, kind of writing those things down. And then I'm going to kind of go into some of the what I call the key ingredients when we are talking about resiliency. And these are the things that really helped me at the beginning of the pandemic as well. So the first is gratitude. And gratitude can be a little tricky because sometimes we're not in the right frame of mind for that, and we need some other kind of pre-work before we can get there. But gratitude, being really grateful for the things that we have. I know that was tremendously supportive for me at the beginning of the pandemic, because even though I lost a lot of my income, I still was okay. Things were still good. The second ingredient is mindfulness. And this is a wonderful, wonderful tool. You may be familiar with it. Definitely a game changer. So mindfulness is really about being aware in the present moment, intentionally, without judgment. And there's different ways to practice mindfulness. There's the formal practice of when you are being led through it, or you're leading yourself through the practice of mindfulness, where we might be focusing in on our breath, we might be focusing in on our body. And then there's also the informal practice, which is how do we bring mindfulness into our everyday living? And so I practice based on mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, which was created by John Kabat-Zinn. So just a little tidbit there if you want to look him up. And then the last ingredient that I have been teaching even more than ever before in the last 3 years is self-compassion. I've seen a lot of how people have been treating each other over the last 3 years. And what I know to be true is that most people that I have ever worked with or known in my life are compassionate. They have a lot of compassion and empathy for others. A lot of people. Not everybody, but a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs and people who work to help and serve other people. But we often forget to have compassion for ourselves. So we really want to shift and kind of look at how are we being compassionate towards others, and how can we now mirror that back to ourselves in order to give ourselves a little compassionate break. And Dr. Kristen Neff and Dr. Christopher Germer are my go-tos for self-compassion work. And they have a lot of great audios online and activities online, both free, and then they also have other products that they sell, which can be really a great entry point for doing some self-compassion work. So I got through it in 20 minutes, but I just wanted to just kind of lay out some of the things I've observed over the last 3 years, and hopefully some of that's helpful.
That is amazing and awesome. Thank you. And, you know, the self-compassion, self-care piece is critical right now. It's always been critical, but it becomes more so, especially, you know, when you're in a stressful phase of life, whatever's causing that stress.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you for an amazing talk. Thank you, everybody who is watching. Let's please give Krylyn a huge round of applause, of thank you and appreciation for doing an amazing job. Thank you. I am so grateful you are here today. Y'all, let's give her a standing ovation, please. And with that, we're going to play musical chairs. Thank you, Krylyn, and we will see you later. And we will welcome our next speaker to the stage. Welcome, Katherine Kim Mullen. So happy to have you here.
Haley, I love Women Entrepreneurs Network. I love what you stand for. I love you, as you know. And I have to say, you've put together a really nice lineup today, because I'm just going to speak to this. This helped me launch a business, this grief component that put me into an emotional breakdown. So I'm not going to speak about that today, but I want to thank Krylyn for sharing, because grief doesn't have a time frame, and it stacks up and hits you in every area. So, you know, the same thing I'm going to speak to, it really speaks to this as well. It's always about awareness, and don't wait too long to say, I need help. I need help.
Absolutely. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and give you the stage while my dog goes stealing treats from behind me. And
I'd like to be there with that dog. I know your dog.
I know, right? We'll make that happen soon.
Okay. Thank you.
She wants to snuggle with you too.
Well,
she wants to snuggle with you too.
Oh, that is adorable. Beautiful family. And your animals are a big part of it for all of us.
Thank you.
So today I'm here and I'm going to speak to, and Haley's really good with us, because you know our community, you know what everybody's talking about, you know what I'm up to, add value for all of you. So I hope this topic touches you. It's how to grow your business by knowing who you are. And really, I want to say hi. I'm Katherine Kim Mullen. I'm a business strategist, consultant, and investor in businesses. And why I said just now, the reason I do what I do is exactly getting to the point that you are aware. So with Sage Navigation, those are a lot of the things we work with. So let me go on to say thank you, Haley Gray and Women's Entrepreneur Network, for inviting me and taking time for all of you to invest what I consider, and I have a real estate background, so I consider your prime real estate, your mind. And investing your time, is something you don't get back. So I appreciate it, I value it, and I've put together some stuff that can make impact. Don't look for a lot of things, look for one thing that you can apply to move forward. On April 20th to 22nd with the summit, is focusing on traffic and funnels, which inspired me on my topic today, right? Grow your business by knowing who you are, because it all starts with you. So my wish for you is that what you get today helps you prepare, so when you do go to this summit and you are learning about your branding and your business and moving it forward and the sales, you'll be ready and you'll say, oh, this is me. Because Haley Gray put this together, focusing on, as she puts it, put a spotlight on you. Take the lampshade off, as Brandon Bay says, shine really bright, and put the spotlight on you, as Haley Gray says. It's all about you. So I'm here. What can you expect today? I referenced two things in the title of this talk today. Firstly, I'll briefly share a little bit about growing your business. Haley Summit's going to help you more with that. But I'm going to talk to the part that I relay before the growing your business. My main focus is my second point, which is who you are. And third, How knowing who you are, knowing how that'll impact your growth. Because we're all here for business and we have a goal. What is it? Otherwise, why are you in business? So the first point was growing your business. And I really want to take just a brief second on this, really, a moment, not more. Because there's 3 areas that I think, and there's more that it can be, but it starts with 1, growing your business. Does that mean having more people to you? Just more people, more people, more people, for whatever reason. Doesn't mean making more sales. Because I can tell you, I've consulted in a business where the sales were fabulous. I'm going to give you an example of the numbers. Sales of over $1 million, selling items of $5 to $10 a piece. So if you do the math, that's a lot of items that you have to sell. And that's a lot of success, unless you were looking at your profitability. Because the profitability was in a minus 1.5 million. What does that mean? Not making money, losing money. So when you're growing your business, you need people to sell to. You need sales. However, you need to look. What type of sales do they look like? And Haley and what they're doing is going to focus more on that. That's where you go. You want to know about those components. I'm not the expert in those components, but I can give you what can help you get there. I am aware. People, sales, profitability. We'll come back a little bit after. The second point that I want to talk about is who you are. And this I would scream if I could. Not what you are. Not what you are. So many people describe the what. I am. I am a business person. That's not who I am. That's something I do. So who am I at my core? Who do I bring everywhere I go? So I have different masks that I put on. When you meet me and I'm meditating, I'm in this place of peace, and my goal and my purpose is quiet, calm peace. I'm not very quiet. I'm really outgoing. Not outgoing where, like, just, I love life. So I'll walk down the street and talk to anybody and everybody. When I'm in business and I have my hair potentially tied back and I'm very serious and I'm talking finance and I'm talking legal and I'm talking business, my mask is not the person that's at the gym working out, focusing on my body, or I just want you to get that they're masks, they're costumes we wear as we go. And sometimes what happens is when we're dressed up in our business attire or our gym attire or our just chilling reading a book under a tree attire, we believe that's who we are. But what we really look for, what we want to look for, is what's beneath that. And now it's like, what do you mean? What is all this about? If you get to know who you are, that's the part you carry no matter where you go. Okay? I'm creative. Whether I'm putting structure in a real estate transaction or I'm structuring a retreat, whatever I'm doing, I'm creative. That's who I am. I am kind. Whether I am in my personal life or my business life, I'm always kind. Who am I? What are my values? Because if I don't know what my values are, how do you know what my value is? And there's a lot of words, and I'm going to respect my time. I want to give you just concepts that you want to think about. And for me, something that is very interesting. So I do send out a newsletter, and this week's newsletter is really because it's St. Patrick's Day. I sent it out on Friday. And people would say my whole life, you're so Irish. And I would say, what is that so Irish? What does that mean? Well, you're so Irish. What does it mean? And I would be like, well, I'm Canadian. I was born in Montreal, but my 4 grandparents came from Ireland. My heritage has a lot of influence. around the foods, around the entertainment, around the storytelling. So much of me is in my DNA, is part of who I am. But I'm not only that. And you're not only your heritage. You're not only what people told you were. You're not only the jobs you took on. When we were just recently doing an event at Sage called One Word, Discover Your Superpower and Your Superhero. And one of the things I'll say about it is people sometimes pick a word thinking that's who they are. But when you peel the onion and you dive a little deeper, you find out, what is it? I'm a mother. Well, what does it mean to be a mother? I'm an entrepreneur. What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? What characteristics that you have that make you a great entrepreneur or a great mother or a great whatever you're doing? Because those characteristics are what you bring to every part of you that make you feel imposter, make you feel success. But knowing who you are is really valuable. And I'll think about Brandon Bay's really does a great exercise on that. I went to a retreat with her, and she dives really deep. And she asks a simple question. You can do this with yourself. She said, who are you? Don't stop there. Who are you? So you'll start out, who are you? I'm a woman. That's obvious. Who are you? I'm a mother. Well, I have a child. Who are you? I own a business, so I'm a business person. Who are you? And go long enough that all of a sudden you find out, I am love. I am. I am blessed with a good mind. What does that look like? I'm quick. I'm resourceful. Those are all descriptions of who I am. But when you go through the process, you find out your value. Imagine understanding who you are and your value when you go. And we're all here in Entrepreneur Network, so we're going to do business. It's your competitive advantage, who you are, because there is only one you. Maybe two people are accountants, but they're not you. So I'm going to ask you to take the time not to look at the definition, not the labels, but really dive deeper into that. And why do you want to do that? How knowing you impacts your growth? Well, it'll help you when you know what you want, that you bring that to the table. It will connect you. It'll connect you with yourself and connect you with others. You will identify other people. It's not only who you are. Once you figure out this is who I am, now you're going to find out who you want to do business with. And you won't waste your time moving forward. You're going to find out, well, who I am. Well, who I am is a business person. And if I'm doing business, you know what? Making money isn't a bad thing, right? It's just a tool and a resource to get what you want. So it really permits you to, even while you wear your mask, put on your costume, get dressed up for whatever role you're playing, it permits you to be yourself. And where do I see it work in business? I remember we were at, I don't know where I was. I was somewhere and I was about to do business. I was looking for a plumber and it was a hockey rink. And while I was there, I was looking for a plumber. There were a few plumbers in the hockey rink because as soon as people know you're looking. But this one plumber had a lot in common with me. He loved spirituality. He loved meditating. He was open to it. So how do you think it was when I had to choose who I wanted to pay to do the work was? I wanted to pay the person that connected with me. So knowing who you are and bringing that to everywhere you go does that for you. So it permits you to connect to who you want to serve. So I'm going to end this up by saying, one, I spoke about growing your business. Growing your business, when you walk in to someone that understands marketing, and Haley can speak to this much better than I can. I hope when she pops in, she'll add something to this. But when she has a client that says, this is who I am, and she goes to brand you, she is going to brand you with what you're doing. And imagine the power of that. And it's very easy to figure that out. Who are you? This is going to allow you to connect. Now, when you do this, I'm going to give you a little work exercise when I leave, and you may enjoy that. It'll get you in a position to know yourself a little better, because while we wear those masks, we start to believe them. We start to believe them. My mom would say to me, if I'm very emotional, so I would be emotional, and she said to me, will you put your business hat on? Go in there, go to bed, come back out and put your business hat on, because I was emotional. I wasn't dealing with something right. And she asked me to put a hat on. But you know what? The reason many people do business with me is because I do care and I am emotional. So you can bring something to everywhere you go. It's just how much of it you bring. And what's important is to know, once you know who you are, you bring it everywhere you go. That is the power you have. That is your competitive advantage. And you know what? If you're just building numbers of people because you've made all the money in the world and you just want to connect with people, good. At least know it. Grow your number of people. If what you want to do is make a lot of sales, if you're in business, you better be figuring that out, because if you're losing money, you're not going to be in business long. So knowing who you are helps with that. How knowing who you are? Being authentic. Everybody's talking about authenticity. Yesterday, Haley invited somebody that's going to be speaking at her summit on authenticity. Authenticity is knowing who you are and bringing it with you wherever you go, in the magnitude, the frequency, in the way that the person receiving you can digest it. So when you wear your mask and your costumes, you still have who you are. So if anybody has any questions, put them in the chat. I'll answer them later. But here's an action step I want to leave you with. Take time and look at your past. We build a resume. We build a business plan. This is time to take your resume, if you were looking for a job, and add all the things about you from your past. Where were you born? Figure out, take time to look at yourself and find out how wonderful you are. This is a good start. I'll put my coordinates in the chat so you can reach out. We do courses on Live Your Life by Design. I'll put those coordinates there. But really, it's about getting to know yourself and being focused on what you want. Thank you very, very much, Katherine Kim Mullen. And you're never alone, especially in this community. Thank you, Haley.
Thank you so much. This is so helpful. It's been really interesting today talking about our topics. And it's always interesting to me because I know that people think that I spend a lot of time scheduling the speakers in terms of like planning out who's going to go in which order. And you'll be shocked to hear that I don't actually do that. I have dates and times where we speak, and these are our WEN Talk events, and we get people scheduled. So if you're interested in learning more, let me know. But what I do is I literally book people in the order in which we have the conversations. And it's really funny to me how if something is ever so slightly out of order, right, then what ends up happening is that, or, somebody say can't make their talk that day, somebody else will magically fill in, and the entire WEN Talk experience flows from one speaker to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's almost as if it happens by magic. Oh, maybe, wait a minute, maybe it is.
Well, Haley, I have to tell you, one of the lines every time I'm somewhere, I always say, well, the universe is unfolding exactly as it should. So, and I know you get that. So I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, it is so much fun to see how these events unfold. So thank you so much for being a speaker today. I really appreciate you being here. And everybody, let's give Katherine Kim Mullen a round of applause and tell her thank you for being here today. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you. And happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. It's coming.
It's coming tomorrow. Yep. I will be celebrating with my youngest home for spring break. So cannot wait to see him.
Oh, love it. Take care. Have fun. God bless.
Thank you. See you soon. And with that, with the magic that is technology. We're going to welcome our next speaker to the stage. Hello, Galit. How are you? Yay.
I'm good.
Welcome. I am so happy to have you here, Galit. Y'all, let's give Galit a huge warm welcome to the stage. Galit has been a member in the community for forever and 3 days, and she is absolutely phenomenal at what she does and how she does it. Galit, I want to go ahead and welcome you to the stage, and I'm going to hand you the microphone. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Haley. Take a break. Go get some iced tea. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited. I've been a member of Haley's group almost, I think, since day one, if not. I've seen the group grow, and I love the women that are in here, and I just love her. One of my favorite things about online is that we've never met in person, and we will. We've decided, but we're just such great friends, and we support each other in so many ways. So Haley asked me to come on and talk about something that I have been really good at and made really good money at the last 7 years, which is speaking. And most of the women in this group are really women that have an area of expertise and are good at speaking about something. So it's really fun for me because if you look at the top 50 speakers in the US from last year, only 9 are women. And if you know me at all, you know that I am not one to be okay with that. So aside from being a professional speaker, an entrepreneur that owns 4 businesses, founder of Everyday Woman TV, I also teach people how to become paid speakers. Now, a lot of us speak. We speak and we don't get paid, but that's okay. That's not what I'm saying to stop doing, because a lot of us, what we do is we'll share our area of expertise in Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok lives, Instagram lives, something like this where I'm talking for Haley's group, and we're sharing our expertise, which is wonderful. So don't stop doing that, okay? But where we're missing the buck, in a sense, is that there are opportunities out there for conferences, conventions, corporations that you can get paid to speak about your expertise. Now, what I do is I like to call one promotional speaking and one paid speaking. This for me is promotional speaking. I get this wonderful opportunity to share 5 ways to book speaking gigs with you, because I'm an expert at that. And I also just got back from Canada on Monday, where I got paid to speak at a conference called Hey Girl Conference. They paid me $5,000, paid for my flights and my hotel, and I got to go be a keynote. That's something all of you can do. There is no reason why. So I'm going to share a few minutes of my journey to speaking, and then I'm going to share with you 5 ways you can book speaking gigs. Because the number one question I get over and over again is, how do I find speaking gigs that are paid? Now, you can use my methods to also book promotional speaking gigs. I do both, and I love both. So just a little bit about my speaking journey. I've never had formal training. I've never been part of Toastmasters, by the way, not knocking any of this. I am a girl that did her dangdest growing up to stay out of the spotlight, to stay off the stage, and not raise my hand in class. You wouldn't know that looking at me today. I turned 50 a few months ago. Woohoo! 50 and over club. Happiest I've ever been. And it took me time to get where I am today. I have been speaking professionally for 7 years. My first professional speaking gig was 7 years ago, last January. So just a few months ago, was 7 years. My first speaking gig was somebody in the community saying to me, will you come speak at a Wine, Women, and Wealth event? There were 12 women at this event, and I spoke about 5 ways to break a pattern. I got asked, I figured out what to speak on. I did a PowerPoint, and I spoke in front of 12 people. Since then, I've had the opportunity to do, gosh, I don't even know, all over Canada, all over the United States. and even virtually all over the world where I've gotten paid. I've had hospitals hire me, women's conferences hire me. I've had corporations hire me. I've spoken to anywhere that you can think of, tech companies, pharmaceutical companies, transformation companies. I'm speaking at a public works event in April. I'm speaking in Rhode Island for the mail servers of the university and college system in July. I'm sharing this with you because I was terrified to use my voice because this is not the voice that I was born with. I actually spoke in a whisper from the age of 7 to 13. And it was terrifying to speak up in class. And then through speech therapy and puberty, I got my voice back. So I have a nodule on one of my vocal cords. So when I speak, you get a little bit of a hoarse, raspy voice. Now, I'm going to jump in and talk to you about 5 ways that you can book speaking gigs. So take notes, because this is something I teach in my program called the Speaker Method. So the first thing that you want to do, and this might seem so simple, but it's the most important, is you've got to let people know you're a speaker. So everywhere you go on my social media, no matter what it is, it says professional speaker. Does yours? All of your bios, all of your social media profiles, they've got to say professional speaker. How are people going to know you're ready to get paid to speak or be a promotional speaker if you are not promoting that you are a professional speaker? Let's talk about your bio, okay? You've got to have a professional bio. Sometimes we're not good at writing for ourselves. This is the time for you to brag. I hire copywriters to do my professional bios. I want you to have one that's 150 words, and I want you to have one that's a paragraph, well, let's say a page, and then go crazy and have a full one. Mine's up to 2 pages. But I want you to have these ready to go when you start reaching out to people and apply to speak. I also want you to make posts. This is an example. I am a professional speaker on the topics of leadership, mindset, real estate. If you have an organization or company that can benefit from my experience, please reach out to me. You've got to let people know you're looking for speaking gigs. I don't do this very often. I might do it once a month. I might do it once a week, but I want to let people know, because people are looking at your social media and they might have an event that's coming up not knowing, because they didn't read your bio, they didn't read your branding. You want to make sure you make these posts sometimes to let people know what you do. So that's letting people know that you are a professional speaker. That's number 1 from 5. Let's go. You've got to have a professional speaker package. I made this joke the other day. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 24 years old, actually 22. The last time I worked for somebody was when I was 21 years old at the Mall at Express. It's a clothing store we have here if you're listening from other countries. At the end of the day, I made this joke that I have been interviewed more in the last 7 years than I did in my entire life before that. This is a job, ladies. You are applying for a job. They are paying you. Now, it's a little different when it's promotional because they're not paying you. So there's a little bit more lax there. You could just send a topic. You could just send your bio. You might not even need a speaker's reel. But now I want you to start thinking of speaking as a business. It's a business for me when I'm getting $5,000 every time I speak. It's a business for me. So what do? Do you have a speaker's profile? So if you go to my website, it actually says hire Galit for a keynote. You click on a button, it takes you to my speaking topics. You've got to have a speaker's profile. Okay. If you go to my LinkedIn, you see that people that have attended my speaking gigs and my speaking things have written me testimonials. So if somebody goes to my LinkedIn, sees I'm a professional speaker, goes down to my reviews, they're going to see about 20 different testimonials. You're going to see testimonials on my website. So you've got to put together what I call your speaker's package. So here we go. You want something that shows you speaking on video. The other day I had an interview. 5 people were on this Zoom call. They're board members, 5 people. It was like crazy. I heard about these group interviews, but I'd never experienced one. I usually have 1 or 2 people on my calls. 5 board members interviewed me, throwing out questions. Okay. This is after they already looked at my speaker's reel. So they knew I was an energetic, engaging speaker. And they got on and said, we saw you're an energetic and engaging speaker, but what we want to know is, and they asked me a bunch of questions. A lot of people stop when it comes to the speaker's reel because they don't have themselves speaking. I don't care if it's through Zoom. I don't care if it's in person. This is me speaking. I could use this in my speaker's reel. So I want you to have you on video speaking. Please, 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 please use that in your resume. As you continue to grow, you build a speaker's reel, okay? You've got to have a press kit. You've got to have publicity. It's not a must to be on TV or to write a book, but it helps. So in my press kit, it shows I've been on TV. It shows the books that I've written. It shows the publications that I've been mentioned in. People Google you. That's the first thing they're going to do. Who is this Galit person? I've never heard of her. They'll Google you. What happens when you Google yourself? What are they seeing about you? I had this funny thing happen for one of my clients. I Googled him because I also work with men speakers, and it showed his MySpace account without a shirt on. And I said to him, look, I didn't even know I had a MySpace account anymore, Galit. I'm so sorry. I go, look, go in, figure out how to get rid of your MySpace account. That's the first thing that came up on Google. Let's get something a little bit more professional in that first spot. It takes time to build that Google panel for you, those searches, but it's possible. Go out and write articles, have a blog, have a YouTube channel. You've got to have something there so people know who you are. 7 years ago, there was information about me because of my commercial real estate company, but not much about my speaking. You betcha I went out and started speaking everywhere just to get that on there. Do press releases, but you've got to have something that they find on you. And you want to have a one sheet. If you don't know what that is, look it up on Google. A one sheet is just one sheet of paper that has what your speaking topics are, your bio, who you are, your photo, how to get a hold of you. Really important to have that. So that's number 2. You've got to have your professional speaker package. Let's go to number 3. LinkedIn. If you are not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. That's where people with money are. The corporations, the conferences, the conventions. You want to be on LinkedIn. You want to start building your LinkedIn profile. You want to be posting that you're the expert. You want to make sure that your bio, your videos, all of this has to do with your area of expertise. And don't forget to put professional speaker up there. You want to ask people to write you testimonials. There's a link there where you could actually send somebody, where I could send Haley a message right now that says, hey, Haley, would you please write a review for me about how I spoke at your event? And she'll, yeah, sure, Galit. And she'll do it for me. You want to make sure that people are writing things about how wonderful you are. This is the time to brag, okay? You've got to brag because I am putting myself up for a job against other people every time I try to speak somewhere. And so are you, especially when it's paid. And I've also seen it on promotional. I've seen it on promotional where I will be up against 50 or 100 women because they have an opportunity to speak in front of their ideal client and they don't want to lose that opportunity, so they apply. So I'm always up for a job, okay? So what are you going to do on LinkedIn? You're going to go up to the search engine and you're going to search conferences based on the keywords of your expertise. So I'm going to use women's conferences today. It's easy. So I'll go up to the LinkedIn search button and I'll write women's conferences, Las Vegas, women's conferences, Los Angeles, just women's conferences. Now what it's going to do is going to search through people on LinkedIn that are your contacts and not your contacts that have the word women's conference in their bio. People that put on conferences have that in their bio. Now, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to connect with these organizations. And please don't sell yourself right away. What you want to do is you want to, hi, Jill. I wanted to connect with like-minded women on LinkedIn. I hope you'll accept my connection. She says, sure. So nice to connect with you, Jill. And that's it. Then you go in, you start liking her posts, you start commenting on her posts. She starts seeing your name. It becomes familiar. Something like 27 or 28 times that someone has to see your brand before they recognize it, or possibly even work with you. I've had people reach out to me 3 and 5 years later after seeing my brand to work with me. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. The next thing that you want to do is you want to then reach out and ask for a virtual coffee. That's what I call it, to get to know them. Now, you're still not pushing that you want to be part of their conference. You're just asking to meet them. If you don't have the time to do that, the next thing that I would do is say, hi, Jill, I noticed in your bio that you're part of the ABC Women's Conference. Is there a link that I could go to possibly be looked at as a potential speaker? See, I'm not selling myself. I'm asking for the information from the person that's part of it. I did it very politely. She might never respond, or she might respond and said, yeah, sure, here's the website. There's a link on there. Good luck. Leave it alone. Go to the link, apply as a speaker. Then a few weeks later, you might say, hey, Jill, I was just wondering if you were involved in picking the speakers. I happened to apply and I didn't hear anything. She might say, you know what, Galit, I'm not, or let me look into it. This is what I want you guys doing. LinkedIn is huge to find speaking gigs, okay? Let's go. Number 4, you've got to be visible. If you're not seen, you're not heard, people won't know who you are and people won't hire you. It's that simple. They just won't hire you. I always tell our ladies in our group, if you're not visible, how are they going to know what you do, who you are, what you sell, your services, your products? So these are the ways that you can be visible. Each time you speak, post about it. I take people on a journey. When I went to Canada, it was freezing. It was like 20 degrees. It's freezing for us on the West Coast, okay? Just so you know, it's freezing for us over on the West Coast. So I posted about my flights. I posted about getting there, and it was snowing. I posted about our plane getting de-iced. I've never experienced that. I posted about how the snowstorm stopped us from driving the 90 minutes we needed to, where I was speaking the next day, but no biggie. They're going to come pick me up in the morning. I posted videos. I posted photos. I posted videos from the event because it was a women's conference. I posted other speakers that were at the conference. I posted a before about being nervous. I posted an after. Yes, it's a lot of posting, but that's what people love. They love the story. And I did it across all of my social media. I use the same videos on all of them. I use the same posts on all of them because different people are following me. What better way to get a speaking gig than to someone to see you're speaking somewhere? If there's a graphic or info that you receive, like I got a graphic that said I was keynote, plaster it everywhere. I'm so excited to be a keynote at. First of all, it makes the place you're speaking very happy because you're promoting them. If it's a conference, if it's a private organization, you don't want to be promoting their event because they're not looking for people to attend, right? But you want to take this graphic. If they don't create a graphic, create one for you. Put it everywhere. I probably promoted this thing for 4 months, 5 months before I actually went to speak. Use that graphic on your website. If you go to my website, it says past speaking events. All of my graphics are on that landing page, showing all the places I've spoken over the last so many years. Mine goes back quite a few years. The next thing that you want to do is you want to check in when you get to the speaking gig at the location that you're speaking. I do this even for leadership events. I spoke at an event a few weeks ago that had 7 leaders from their company that they hired me for. And I said, I'm at the Venetian, going up to the room where they have a conference room. You want to check in. The next thing that you want to do is you want to try to share lives. Sometimes I'll jump on and be like, I'm getting ready to speak at the Hey Girl conference, and I'm so excited, especially if there's a step and repeat, which is one of those banners behind you that says where you're at. Take photos of yourself before and after. Ask people in the audience to take photos of you. If you know somebody in the audience, use those afterwards. You want that, oh my God, she really was on a stage. She didn't just make this up kind of feeling. And make sure to post as many pictures and short videos from the speaking engagement. So I spoke at this leadership event and I had my assistant come and she did 1-minute videos. And she tried her best to make sense out of them, but I'll post these 1-minute videos and I'll share them so people can see, oh gosh, she's a speaker. People are watching all the time. That's number 4. So we went through, let people know you are a professional speaker. Put together a professional speaker package. Use LinkedIn to find your speaking gigs. Be visible and tell everybody that you're speaking. And the last thing is Google, Google, Google. Go online, set up Google Alerts. Very easy. If you don't know how to do it, Google how to set up Google Alerts, okay? You want to set up Google Alerts that say speaking gigs, speaking opportunities in Los Angeles. I'm on the West Coast. Speaking opportunities in Los Angeles. Speaking opportunities in California. Women's conferences. And what will happen is you'll get an email. It's not that bad. An email once a day. You can do once a day, once a week. That actually gives you links to those things. So you can check them out. Go to the website. Explore. See if they're looking for speakers. Apply. Really important to do that. Also, you can Google and research speaking conferences in your city. If you have a convention center in your city, or maybe you're in a suburb and you have a city that's close to you. Let's say you live next to Chicago. You might look in Chicago because they probably have a convention center. Look up the list of conventions and conferences that are in the city near you, because it's always easy when you don't have to fly. And then you can do that for every city. Really important to be tapped in to the places that are asking for speakers. Go to their websites, send an email. Hi, I noticed you have a conference coming to my city, Chicago. Are you looking for any speakers? Put together a spreadsheet. Put all the speaking events on there. Keep track of which ones and when they come up. People book speakers typically 3, 6, 9, 12 months in advance for the bigger things. For the smaller stuff, I had a speaking opportunity a few weeks ago that he booked me 2 weeks in advance because it was a little thing. I have another speaking opportunity April 5th where they booked me less than 2 months in advance. So you just never know. So ladies, what I want to share with you more than anything is this. Let's get more women on the stage. Promotional speaking or paid speaking. But how great would it be to be paid to speak? And for those of you that are nervous, well, who would want to listen to me? Well, I've never done that. If you've done a Facebook Live, if you've gotten up at a nonprofit organization that you're a part of, or a business organization that you're a part of, and you spoke, you're a speaker. The difference between paid speakers and someone that's actually not doing it is that confidence. So the last thing that I want to share with you guys, and Haley said it was okay, I have a speaker program that's starting next month to show people how to become paid speakers and takes you through all the steps, and you can learn more at thespeakermethod.com.
Thespeakermethod.com.
Thank you,
awesome.
Haley.
Yeah. Galit, those tips were pure gold. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, here's the thing, y'all. If you think you've gotten everything you're going to get, because I hear this all the time from people, regardless of whether you're thinking about speaking or coaching or whatever, Galit just gave you a few little teeny tiny tips that is like this little teeny tiny tip of the iceberg. When you run into somebody who's giving you this much value, one of our other speakers, Galit, whoever, you need to go out and go hunt them down and hire them.
I love you hunting down, Haley, because we're so easy to find. They don't even have to hunt us down anymore, right?
Exactly, right? And that's a whole other conversation.
Oh
exactly.
My gosh.
Make yourself easy to find.
Can I do a Haley plug?
Sure.
Haley runs all of the social media for our TV network, Everyday Woman TV. And her business and her company are doing an unbelievable job. So if you're following Everyday Woman TV on any of our social medias, which we're everywhere, that's all Haley's team. And she's not sending me a check for that plug, just so you know.
Well, thank you. And you know what? Thank you for the opportunity to serve and to do an incredible job.
You really are. We're very, very happy. So I just wanted to say that because, like I said, Haley and I know each other only online, and we've developed this beautiful business relationship where it's back and forth. I can't even count how many times we've interviewed each other on our shows, how much times we've had each other on our different summits. It's just been really fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your kind words. Y'all, let's give Galit a huge round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I am so excited to be introducing our next speaker. Oh my gosh, what a crazy, amazing day here on the WEN Talks. I am just like blown away by our speakers today. And oh my gosh, I mean, from peak to summit to summit. Oh my gosh, our next speaker is Hilary Russo. Oh my gosh, I am so excited to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Haley. What a pleasure to be here. I just love these powerful, amazing women that are in this group, and I'm so elated to be one of them. So thank you. Appreciate it. Well, I am, as Haley said, I'm Hilary Russo. I'm the holistically speaking health coach. Clearly, I love wordplay because I'm a holistic health practitioner and a transformational coach. And I practice the art and this beautiful neuroscience approach called havening techniques. I'm also a hypnotherapist and a health and wellness journalist and a public speaker. And of course, a powerful, purpose-driven woman entrepreneur like all of you. But I want to start this off, and I want to start this conversation off because it's always a conversation. It's never one-sided, in my opinion, is with a question. I want to ask you, what's new and good? And I want you to think about that question for a second. And when something comes to mind that brings you joy, that is your new and that is your good. It doesn't have to be anything huge. It could be you had a great cup of coffee or a lunch. It could have been you signed a new client, or you have a new product coming out, or you're working on a new program, or you just had a great night's sleep. Whatever it is, what is something new in your life and something good, two things that bring you joy in your everyday? Because the more you do this, the more you come forward with that kind of mentality and take a positive step in the right direction, you're going to add more happiness to your moment, your day, your life, and also more gratitude. And there's science behind this. I don't make this stuff up. There's science behind this. And as a trauma-informed holistic health practitioner and health coach, I'm definitely one of those people that love to nerd out on neuroscience. I work with neuroscientists, and I've done a lot of research on what brings happiness into people's lives, including my own. I use myself as a guinea pig every day. In fact, there was a Harvard Business Review study that was released that 2 minutes of gratitude, if you bring 2 minutes of gratitude in your life first thing in the morning, compared to grabbing your phone or looking at the news or getting up and making breakfast for you or the kids and just rushing to go in go mode, you actually have a 27% more likelihood of reporting a good and happy and positive day 6 to 8 hours later. Compared to those who get up in the first 3 minutes of their day, they're in the go mode and doing, and put your feet on the floor and let's do it. You deserve that time for self-care. And if that self-care time is going to give you 27% more happiness in your day, that is a quarter of your time in the day that you're putting on the table to be either taken from you or given to you. And really the choice is yours. You choose to choose. And this comes from, I learned about this from Shawn Achor, who is a Harvard researcher and wrote the book Happiness Advantage. So if you want to look more into that, you absolutely can. But when you think about that quarter of your time and think about time in general, because time is a measure and a unit that is certainly promised to move forward, but it is not promised to you and it is not promised to me. So time matters. And what do you want to do with it? And the one thing I hear from my clients, many are successful women entrepreneurs like yourselves, are trying to manage that work-life balance. And I'm talking about the C-suite executives to my Grammy Award-winning opera singers to my first responders to college students that are looking to get that first job out of school. Time is creating a sense of overwhelm, burnout, and it is really stealing your peace, right? And I've been there myself. And it happens on many levels. It happens mentally, it happens physically, it happens emotionally, and it happens spiritually. And one thing I learned when I was studying to become an integrative nutrition holistic health coach is that we have something called the primary foods and the secondary foods in this work. And the secondary foods are what nourish your body, the foods we think about eating, actual food, right? Hippocrates said that food is thy medicine and medicine is thy food. But that wheel, that secondary wheel of what the foods you nourish your body with is much smaller than the primary wheel. The primary foods are your spirituality, your home life, your career, if you're enjoying it, your self-care, the people around you, your faith, all of that is actually your primary wheel. And that's a much bigger wheel. And they both integrate together. It's a holistic approach, which is what holistic means, is whole. So balancing that is really important. Understanding that about yourself. So what are you surrounding yourself with to help be kind to your mind, as I always say, but also be kind to your mind, your body, and your soul, so that you can show up authentically and be your best self for your family, for you first, because this temple matters most, to your family, to your friends, and then to your business, because it's a trickle-down approach, and it kind of works that way. And it's why I share this. I share this because I use this myself. Like I said, I'm a guinea pig in everything I do. I believe in doing that. And I wish I had these tools when I was just getting started out in my first part of my career, which was a journalist. I was a young journalist. I was working in the field. I was on air during 9/11 and very unaware of what self-care meant. I went to yoga classes. I worked out. I tried to eat my salads, but that really was just such a tip of the iceberg of what it means to really take care of yourself, or how to calm the mind. And as a young journalist, a young news anchor on that desk that day, I experienced what we call secondary trauma. And this kind of relates to the work that I do now. I'm still a health and wellness journalist, but my work as a trauma-informed coach pairs together in a lot of ways and works together beautifully. Like they say, let your passion be your purpose, and one day it'll be your profession. That pretty much is me as the poster child of that, because I'm able to fuse all that together. And when I mean by secondary trauma, I mean that I still hear stories that I go out on and from 9/11 all the way through the pandemic and beyond. But it's also not just those I supported, like the first responders, and it's also the forgotten first responders, which are the journalists, because we're on the scene. And it's the everyday people like you and me that are dealing with the everyday stressors. The problem is we really don't have a clear definition or what's being put out there in social media, because everything is buzzwords and sometimes we're not aware of what they actually mean specifically. And we're misidentifying what it is we're truly dealing with. And when you have an understanding of what you're facing, what you're coping with, you have a better way of being able to hold space for yourself and deal with it. It's much like if you find out, you go to the doctor and you're unable to find out what the problem is. A doctor figuring out what the symptoms are that are leading to the dis-ease in your body, you're more likely to find out a plan of action that can help you. Well, that same thing goes for your mental dis-ease. So what is it you're facing? And when I think about the fact that there's secondary trauma and there's burnout, and they're very different things, understanding what you're dealing with is very important, especially as entrepreneurs, because we take on so much. And the difference is that secondary trauma is when you're experiencing the duress or the emotional duress that results from hearing somebody else's firsthand trauma. Okay. And you might have experienced this. I know as a journalist, I experience this every day when I'm listening to other people's stories, when I'm looking at the news feeds and I'm seeing images, much like what happened in 9/11 up through the pandemic and beyond. But then we also deal with those stories every day in our family and workplace. And for me as a practitioner, with my clients who are sharing very deep rooted upsets, I need to have the tools to know how to manage that and not take it in like a sponge, right? And be able to still hold space and support my clients well. But what is it you're dealing with in your everyday life? You know, what are the burnouts? The difference between that, burnout can be seen as the deadlines you're facing, taking on too much, not having the kind of support. Should I hire a virtual assistant? Do I have the right kind of people supporting me? Do I have the marketing team I need? Am I managing all this plus the family life? Am I taking care of me? That can lead to burnout, which is very different from secondary trauma. And having that support or not having that support can be the distinction between how you are going forward in your day and how you're managing your business. And then you start dealing with the self-doubt, right? Start asking yourself questions when you're dealing with burnout. And this can deal with the, am I doing it right? Should I be doing it? Am I on the right path? Is there a better way I can do this? Should I just get out and start again, right? That inner bully is the loudest voice in the head. We hear a lot of voices around us, but the loudest voice in our head is the one we need to be listening to. So the thoughts we're putting in there better be good ones. And we have over 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. So choosing good ones is very important, right? Choosing the words we use and choose towards others is just as important as the ones we use towards ourselves, because we can really beat ourselves up, right? I do it too. And it's a practice for us to have to bring ourselves back and to not release what I call the cranial kraken. Remember the kraken from Clash of the Titans? That cranial kraken that will just come out at you if you're not too careful. Because the one thing that is so obvious and true is that the brain does not like uncertainty at all. And if you are not learning how to change those thoughts, moods, and behaviors, your amygdala, your brain will get the best of you. And you need to learn how to pull it back. But when I was, the one thing I want to talk about with going back to the self-doubt is that we hear a lot of, when people are getting in kerfuffles and they're upset, you might hear somebody say, oh, just hug it out. Hug it out. You guys get over it, deal with it on your own time. We can do that with others so beautifully. The problem is we don't do it with ourselves. Do we hug it out with ourselves, right? Do we give ourselves the space for what I call, and the hug is an acronym for my signature system, hug it out, which is healing. Do we heal ourselves? Do we know how to hold space for ourselves? Understanding, giving ourselves the grace and understanding, and gratitude, appreciating what we have shown up and done and what we've achieved. How often do we hug it out with ourselves? And I share this with every client, with every speaking engagement, with every talk I do, that we have to get in the habit of hugging it out with ourselves. Because if we're not showing up for ourselves, how in the world can we show up for others, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life? And this will lead to more self-love, more self-care, more self-regulation, more self-empowerment. And that is really the basis of everything. So how are you talking to yourself? All that negative self-talk comes from that part of our brain that is in fight or flight mode constantly. And like I said, the brain does not like uncertainty. So the first thing it's going to grab onto is a negative thought. So it's up to you to steer the wheel back and have those tools to say what's new and good. What little thing happened today that's bringing me joy that can create that domino effect of joy in your life. And that's one thing I share as a havening techniques practitioner. I'm not just one of the first 150 in the US that practice this. I'm also one of only 800 in the world. And I practice with the co-founding doctors who have called me a pioneer in the field. And I take that very seriously. But I also use havening for myself, for my everyday life. And the beauty of this work is that it could be self-applied, to self-soothe, to self-regulate. And it's basically what we call CPR for the amygdala, right? Because the amygdala likes to go to fight or flight. And we call her Amy because it's a nurturing way. If we give our amygdala some kind of life and let it be known as an entity we want to take care of, like Amy, whether it's a child or an animal. I have clients consider Amy a different thing. We will treat it better, because sometimes we treat things better on the outside than we do on the inside. So if you treat this like something you want to nurture, you're more likely to treat it well. And what I want to do for you and share with you a little bit about what havening is, I want to close this out with doing a short havening self-experience with you and guide you through this so that you can leave more empowered, more clear-minded, more focused. But what havening is it's a psychosensory approach, meaning that it uses one of the senses, and it uses a sense of touch, the havening touch. And the havening touch, along with that positive distraction or pleasant joyful thing that you're thinking of, what it has the ability to do is alter your thoughts, moods, behaviors, and habits rapidly and permanently. It's based on neuroscience. And the beauty of this work, and maybe this is the antithesis of what I do in the therapeutic world, is that my hope is not to have people come back to me, but come back to me when they need me for the deeper rooted things, or the every week, there's always something that comes up. But during that time in between, you have the ability to self-soothe. So how you do this approach, if I may, experiencing the havening approach is like you're washing your hands or giving yourself a nice hug, hugging it out, healing, understanding, and gratitude. This actually releases oxytocin, which is the love hormone. It also releases dopamine and serotonin and GABA, which are also the happy hormones. But when you use this touch, and you can do it any and all three, there's no choreography to it. And then you bring something to mind that brings you joy. It could be a place, a thing, an experience. If you love to sing, you can even hum, because humming activates the vagus nerve. Singing activates the vagus nerve, which actually is that gut-brain response. And that actually can help with the parasympathetic nervous system, which, not to get all nerdy and everything, but that is the good. That's where you want to be, right? So I want to give you the gift of the havening for a moment before we close out. And remember that 27% is dangling there on the table, right? So how you use and choose your time to hug it out with healing and understanding and gratitude, to deal with the everydays, to deal with the overwhelm when you're feeling the burnout, or even the deeper rooted traumas, which is where I really work with my clients, is that you're able to do this on your own every day anyway, with the stress, with the anxiety, with the overwhelm, with the burnout, with the heavier stuff that's like PTSD or trauma, or even public speaking. I work with a number of clients. I've been in broadcasting for over 30 years. A lot of people that come to me are those who are scared of public speaking. It is two of the biggest fears out there are public speaking and not being loved. That's it. Those are your two biggest fears. So when people come to me, it's getting them over that fear of being in front of the camera, because it's really not about that, or being on the stage. It's not about that. It's going to the deeper rooted upsets. So even if it's the everyday upsets, like you've got too much on your plate, or the kids are getting a little bit overzealous about things, or even deeper things that you're ready to approach, because trauma never goes away. We just learn how to manage it, deal with it, and build a relationship with it. That's self-empowerment. Whichever you decide to use, putting these tools in your hands changes the narrative. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about something, and we're going to do this quickly. I want you to bring something to mind that's bringing you an upset. Just doesn't have to be anything major. Think of something in your life right now that is bringing you an upset, or is causing a little feeling of being off. And then I want you to give it a word. So maybe it's stress, maybe it's fear, maybe it's anxiety, whatever it is, give it a word. And if you want to put it in the chat, this is great. Think of that word and whatever it is. And the beauty of this work is you don't even need to share what your upset is. 100%. And I can say this absolutely, of my clients do share with me, because it's based on trust and connection. However, they don't have to. That's the beauty of this kind of work, this neuroscience-based work. But I would like for you to just at least put what the emotion is you're feeling. I'm going to look at the chat if anyone's doing this. And just share whatever that upset is, or if you don't want to share in the chat, you don't have to. And bring to mind what that is for a moment. And then I want you to give it a number. And what I call 0, which is namaste all day, nothing's bothering you, to 10, off the charts, really triggering you, upsetting you. Whatever that emotion is that you are bringing to mind right now, also give it a number. And 10 being the most activated, 0 being namaste all day. Okay, so you're looking for something that's causing you some kind of upset. Okay, and now what I want you to do is, just as quick as you have that in your mind and that upsetting thing, I want you to forget it. I want you to just forget about it. Don't even think about it anymore. It's not part of what's happening right here and now. And I want you to now think of that joyful thing and bring that to mind. What is it that is an experience, or a person, or a place, or a thing that brings you joy? And then what I want you to do is I want you to practice the havening approach. The touch is just, remember, it's on your arms, like you're giving yourself a hug from your shoulders down to your elbows, or your hands, or even on your face, like a nice facial. And just close your eyes for a second and pretend like you're going backstage into a new space. And it's like you're creating a new movie or a new narrative. And take yourself to that place. Take yourself to that place briefly. And then I just want you to close your eyes. And from this point on, for a few minutes, we're just going to take a little journey. And all you're thinking about is that experience that you're having that brings you joy. And you keep havening during this whole time. That's part of it. Remember to do the havening touch and take yourself to this experience, or hum to yourself. If you're in a private space, you have the space to do that. Or if it's a person, whatever it is. And I'm just going to count to 20. And with each number, I want you to think of one thing within that experience that you're having that you can feel brings you more joy. So for instance, if you're walking on the beach and that's your joyful place, number 1 might be the boats. Number 2 might be the sand beneath your feet. Number 3 might be the sound of the birds. Whatever it is, whatever your journey is, because this is your journey, I want you to continue havening, and we're just going to count to 20. And with each number, find one thing that brings you joy within that experience. Here we go. 1. Just take some deep breaths. Breathing is very important. 2. Allow yourself this time for self-care and self-regulation. Remember to haven and move your arms. 3. Deep breaths, feeling lighter and calmer and deeper. 4. Beautiful. 5, eyes closed. Give yourself the space. Take a deep breath on 5. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and then breathe out for 4. This is the box breathing method. It's really powerful. I use it with my speaking clients. I use it with my students as a college professor. And then go to 6. What's number 6 that brings you joy in that experience, in that space? Remember the self-haven. 7, 8, 9, 10. Take another deep breath of 4 in, hold for 4, and then breathe out for 4. That's right. Give yourself the gift of breath. Imagine it just circulating through all the cells in your body. Whatever it is that has been upsetting you, you're in a different space. 11, feeling lighter and calmer and deeper, clearer. 12, deep breaths in. 13, what's bringing you joy? 14, 15, 16. Remember to self-haven. Keep moving your hands. 18, 19, and then that last powerful step forward with that 20th step. And then I want you in your mind's eye to turn around and see how far you've come. See how far you've come. Look how far you've come. And then I want you to think about that word that you're feeling now. What is the emotion or the feeling you have now? Real quick, don't give it too much thought. We get in our thoughts too much. And my whole thing is to mirror back at you what you don't see in yourself. What is it you're feeling right now? What is the emotion? What is the feeling? You can even put it in the chat if you like. And then what is the number? So where you were a higher number before, lower is better. Namaste all day would be 0. Where are you in this number? That's the power of this work. And just take up one more deep breath, if you will. And think about how you have the ability to change your thoughts, moods, behaviors, and habits in minutes. And of course, I am happy to support anyone that wants to hear more about havening or the work that I do and hear about my Hug It Out system, how I can support you in any way. And that is basically being kind to your mind, Haley.
Thank you so much, Hilary. This is awesome stuff. And tell me how somebody would go about getting in touch with you.
Absolutely. So I can be reached at hilaryrusso.com. It's with 1 L. And if you're interested in booking a complimentary session to actually do this havening one-on-one, we can go a little deeper. You can really see how it works. But that's on my website at hilaryrusso.com/havening. And of course, reach out to me and connect with me on social, either on Facebook or, of course, I'm very active on Instagram. And I do have my podcast, Holistically Speaking, which is Trauma to Triumph Stories Through Health, Healing, and Humor, all in the holistic space with some amazing experts in the field that are very well known, but just holding space for people to share their stories, because that's how we share and serve.
Absolutely. Love it so much.
Thank you.
And with the magic of technology, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker. You know, and it's funny to me how it all works out, that everybody flows from one to the next. And I am so excited about our next speaker.
Thank you.
Claudia
Thank
Rickard.
you, Haley. I know, and isn't that incredible? Because I'm also a hypnotist, and I'm a certified havening practitioner. So there you go. It's just linked beautifully. What I'm talking today on, though, is some emotional intelligence, and I'm going to give you all some tools that you can use straight away. I am going to write these down so that you can see them and take notes as well. So these are some Reiki precepts, and these is my spin on it. So we start with, and as I'm saying these, I'm going to give you loads of other tools and tips that you can use straight away as well. So the Reiki precepts are just for today. And already we've been speaking about that, being in your moment, being mindful, just for today. So just for today, okay? Past is past. We can't do anything about the past. Actually, a few of us can on here because we use the havening, and I use havening and the blast technique that can help with past traumas. So the past is past, though, generally, okay? So leave the past in the past. The future is also the future. And so many of us live in the future doing the what ifs. Well, what if they said that and then that would happen? And then, oh my goodness, then they'll say that and that will happen as well. And da, da, da. And honestly, I can actually even feel the anxiety, even just pretending to do the what ifs. This is what I say to the what ifs. So if you write down what if, you finish that sentence. So you say it in your head, what if, and you finish it with, I'll handle it. I'll handle it. I'll figure it out. Because you always do, don't you? Now, saying that, I did have a client once who said to me, oh, I know what I'll be saying. I'll be saying, what if I don't handle it? And I said to her, where's the evidence that you never handled it? And she said to me, well, there was this one time. So I said, okay, did you get some learning? And she said, oh, yeah, I got loads of learning. So I said, there you go. There is never a fail, only learning. So always say to yourself, never a fail. Anything that happens at all, there's never a fail. Just keep learning from it. So never a fail, only learning. So that is what we do. But preferably, we stay in our just for today. So that's being in our moment, just for today. So I want you to say this to yourself now. Just for today, no need to worry. Just for today, no need to worry. Because it's just for today. Today is Thursday. Just for today, no need to worry. And let yourself feel that. The next precept is no need to anger. Now, anger is an interesting one. Anger is only bad, really, if it's violent or if we should on ourselves. Now, the should, you should be able to do that. You should be here by now. You should have be earning that much money by now. You should be in that house by now. You should. Those shoulds, we need to change out. We really need, they need to go. They all they do is produce guilt. So at least if you can change it to could, because you could be here by now, you could have done that, you could. Preferably, I choose to. That is the one we want to get to. I choose to do this. I choose not to. I choose. Okay? Now, anger, again, like I say, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Anger is a true emotion. And oh my goodness, over my own life, I have felt varying degrees of anger with certain people. And it's a true emotion. And we have to be able to feel our feelings. It's so important to feel our feelings, feel our hurt, feel our pain, because if we don't feel it, then we suppress it. So we feel our feelings, then we deal with them, and then we heal them. Now, there's certain people on here that are very good with helping people to deal with those emotions. But it's so important. So anger, again, you see, anger, our children have to feel their anger. They have to let it out. Please let your child feel their anger. But for some people, anger, you see, again, for me, it was the one that gave me the kick up the butt to create change. And I think that's okay. I don't mind anger because it helps people to create change. It is probably one of the only emotions that we have that will give us enough energy to do just that, create change. Because if you do what you've always done, you will get what you've always got. So sometimes I personally feel anger. I don't mind it. Like I say, it helped me. Now, so just for today, no need to worry, no need to anger, be honest. So instead of actually being angry with other people, this is what we do. We be honest. Now, how do we do that? We be honest by saying what I feel. So we own it. I feel hurt. I feel let down. I wonder if we could put some fun music on and all tidy the house up in 10 minutes. I wonder. I'm curious. Tell me more. There's just certain ways that we can use this language, okay, in being honest. Not you don't do that, you don't, because that's criticizing, okay? And all that will do is create an argument. So I feel. Now, the next one is be humble. Now, for me, this is not saying you're sorry because we're not doormats, okay? It is instead using our two ears and listening. Listening to what people have to say. Because if they're pointing out your foibles to you, your irritating little things that you do, because we're all irritating, okay? All of us, because we're humans. I'm irritating, you're irritating, my family's irritating, your family's irritating. We are human, so we are irritating by default. Now, if we listen and we listen to what somebody is saying about us, or something that we do that is irritating them, as I say, we're listening, go, and then, do you know what? Really think about it and go, do I? Do I do that? Do you know what? You're right, I do. Because you may well do. If you don't, then say that doesn't ring a bell with me. I'm not taking that on. But if you do, just go, yeah, thank you for pointing it out. I'll be more aware now. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then they got their need met, which was to be heard. So you then get to say, and I feel, or I wonder. So, and they're more likely to hear you then because you heard them. So it just stops a lot of arguments, because if somebody is pointing out your foibles that you do, and you say, no, I don't do that. Well, you do this. I mean, you do that. And it just goes into an argument, doesn't it? So if you started off first and go, do I do that? Or do I don't recognize that. That's not for me. But do I? I'll be more aware. Thank you. And I wonder. And then that's so much easier for communication. And I'm sure that you can all relate that in your own lives to certain things that around, whether it be family or at work. Now, the last one is be compassionate towards yourself. Yes, be compassionate towards yourself. So if you do worry, if you do get angry, be kind to yourself. You're only a human being. Be compassionate towards yourself and others. What's going on for them? There's always something going on. Everybody has something going on for them. And that I explain is all in another diagram that I draw when I do other speaking engagements. So I hope this helps. And what I'm also going to tell you is a way to let things go. It's a couple of stories. I love doing my storytelling. And it starts my little monkey story. So monkeys, they live in the jungle and they go from tree to tree. So we can't catch them. So what we do is we bury a vase shaped like that. We bury it in the sand or the soil and we put in a shiny stone or some fruit. And then we go and hide in the bushes. Now, monkey has been watching you and monkeys are very curious. So monkey climbs down off the tree, pops his little hand in, grabs hold of the shiny stone or the fruit, and he makes a fist. And he can't get out. You come over, pop the net over monkey. Monkey's trapped. Monkey's lost his happiness. Monkey's lost his freedom. If only he'd let it go. So what I want you to do now with your hands is let it go. And I have thousands of clients using this. I use this at night time if I need to go to the bathroom. And if I get a thought, I go, oh. And then I'm like, let it go, let it go, let it go. Because I know it will keep me up all night. And I just let it go. And I do that, keep doing that until it goes. And it does go. It really goes. Because you are this magnificent tree. And these are your branches. And a bird comes and lands in your branch. Say a bird is the thought. Now we know what happens with thoughts. You get another thought, another bird in your other branch. And then you've got all of these branches up here, full of birds, full of thoughts. And then they make nests. And then they have babies. And then they crap all over your tree. So we all have thoughts, but you don't need to let it make a nest. Wave it away, flick it away. Again, I hope that one helps. I love those stories. Now, just something else I wanted to share with you was this word, belief. Now, sometimes we have limiting beliefs. And these are very unhelpful. And I want you to look at this word in here. This little word there, lie. I lie. Yeah. We can tell ourselves some little lies. So ask yourself, is it true? Now, this is from Byron Katie. Is it true? Ask yourself, is it true? Is it absolutely true? No, it's not, is it? How do you feel when you have that thought? Well, we can feel awful. How do you feel when you don't have that thought? You feel fine, normal for you. So ask yourself, is it true? And I'll just leave you with this. I'd like you to all acknowledge that we do tell ourselves little stories. We can play movies in our heads. Absolutely. And I'm going to ask you to always play a good movie. We are the movies we play in our heads. We are the movies we play in our heads. Always play a good movie. Always play a good movie. I hope you enjoyed that. So thank you. I don't know if Haley's there.
I don't know if I'm here either. Thank you so much. That was awesome and amazing. And the things that we do in our heads to ourselves sometimes are astounding, are they not?
Yeah. So thank you. So I have a free e-guide with recordings. They're on my website. So am I able to?
How do they get there?
Yeah, www.Claudia. Actually, no, it's not. Just put ClaudiaRickardHypnosis.com. You can get that.
ClaudiaRickardHypnosis.com.
Yeah, it's a free e-guide with 3 relaxation recordings on it because it's always so important for us to do the opposite of stress every day. Like I said, I was aware I could carry on forever, but there's I'm aware of timings for you.
It's all good. Like I said, it always happens in kind of the funniest ways. Welcome and thank you so much for being an awesome speaker today. And
thank you for having me,
really
Haley.
Appreciate you being here with us today. Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye. Bye now.
Take care. Bye-bye. And with that, I'm going to introduce our last speaker of the day, Diane Vics. Welcome here. I am so happy to have you here. And I am going to go ahead and give you the stage.
Thank you, Haley. And I feel like what a wonderful group of entrepreneurial women here today who are so gifted in what they do. Each of them has something unique to offer, as do each of you. And I would love to hear more from each of you. And today I'm talking about one of my specialties, and that is natural wellness. And I'm going to share my top 7 tips with you about how to be your best and keep that natural immunity. So why am I doing that? Well, I want you to be your best when you're at your optimal wellness. And I like to use that word wellness because it's the opposite of sickness, right? Sickness is not a good place to be. It's at a low vibrational frequency. And we need to be healthy and working functionally, our body and our mind and our spirit operating functionally and at our best, so that we can be there for our families, for ourselves, and for our customers, right? So thank you for having me today, Haley, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity and for just the connections that we all make through your Women's Entrepreneurial Network. And I want to call it Women's Empowerment Network. And maybe you'll consider adding another E in there, because it's so empowering to hear from other women who've been there. So why immunity? Well, and why am I talking about it? Because I had plenty of my lifetime to experience sickness, being sick and tired for decades. I know that sounds silly, like I just didn't know any better, but I always felt that there was something more out there for me. And there was. And now I've learned more, just like most of you. You had a journey to get to where you are in your business and in your life. And my journey was about, taking antibiotics since the age of 2. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And almost constantly, every month as an adult or young adult, I would be at the pharmacy getting a new prescription. And antibiotics, as we know now, they wreak havoc on your gut health. So gut health, there's a lot of immunity there. And who knew? I wish I knew all of this earlier in life. The thing is, we have to, as we've heard from many of our wonderful presenters today, we need to take in our experiences and learn from them. We lay them down as stepping stones in our journey, and we move forward with that experience and with that new knowledge, and often lessons. And sometimes they're hard lessons. And if we don't learn them the first time, they come back. And so we learn. Sometimes it's easier. So since the age of 2 on antibiotics, my parents didn't know better. And at the time, that was the thing to do. So I had a wonky kidney, and they just wanted me not to have kidney urinary tract infections, because they're the pits, right? And it can really compromise your immune system. When your body is addressing something like an infection, it taxes the immune system. It's a good thing that we have these early warning signals in our body, like when you go to the doctor after they take your copay. What do? They palpate your neck, right? On the sides of the neck, because who can tell me what's back there? I'm sure somebody will type it in the chat. On the sides of your neck, there are lymph collections, and that's a really important sign. If you have little lumps or soreness there, or even under your arm, we also have lymph collections there. And even here in the sternum, between the breasts, you have lymph collections. So if you're not paying attention to, like in your car, that early warning signal, the dashboard, then it's only going to get louder and louder. And then, if you do that with your car, you won't be able to drive it. You just have to pay a bigger price at the repair station. Similarly, with our body, I believe that we've been given everything we need for our healthy, optimal life here. And we're born in a state called homeostasis. If you know what homeostasis is, type that in the chat. Homeostasis. I think I may have heard that from the previous presenter. All of them so good today. And actually, we have so much overlap, and I see lots of common threads. So homeostasis, basically, in layperson's terms, the state of pure health and wellness in your body. So it's balanced. It's not too much of one thing. It's not too much of another, and we're balanced. So we're always trying to get back to that original state of homeostasis. You can look that up. Don't trust me, just look it up. So decades of being sick and tired, and then depressed and unhappy. I then got well enough to get pregnant, have a child, beautiful son, raised him in the way that I knew. I went to all of those, and overweight. I always had 3 sizes in my closet at any given time because I didn't know where I was going to be in even months away. So anybody can relate to that? Yeah. And then I was also not following all the fad diets, but would go through the weight loss plans and go every week and get weighed in and hear what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Well, one big thing I learned to do is not should on myself. So I'm going to share today with my 7 top favorite tips about how to get back to homeostasis or get closer to it and to build up your immune system naturally. You have the tools that you need. All you need to do is exercise them. And I'm not saying to do this all the time, every day, because that would be a little overwhelming if you didn't have these habits. So I heard the first speaker talk about burnout. And if you feel burnt out and putting your self-care last, then start simple. You got to love on yourself. And I heard that's another theme today we have all been talking about. I also heard about habits on autopilot. So I call those habits are regular routine things that we naturally do. Like most every day, hopefully you brush your teeth, right? And it's just a habit. You keep your toothbrush likely in the same place, and the toothpaste and the way you do it even is a regular habit. So what I'm asking you to do, inviting you to do for yourself, first, to take time for yourself because you're worth it. And take time to, someone else mentioned today, recognize those habits and recognize what's working for you and add on. So I call that habit stacking. It's a thing. It's a thing now, habit stacking. That just means that you take one good habit, like eating breakfast every day, and you tag on another healthy habit to it. So maybe if you're having breakfast, you might cut down on sugar or the caffeine, or you might add in maybe some avocado toast to really feed yourself. So my top 7 healthy tips for building natural immunity. Here we go. Are you ready? So you might want to number your paper 1 through 7 and leave some space, because if I do that and then I realize, oh no, I have so many notes I want to write in between, I get frustrated. I don't want you to get frustrated, because stress and frustration, those are a lower vibrational frequency. And I want to help you to raise your vibrational frequency. So that's a place where you don't get sick. when you're so happy and joyous, and we heard more about joy today, so happy about that, then that is a place where you don't get sick. So my first thing in the morning, before my feet even hit the floor, sometimes before I open my eyes, I give gratitude to the one that made me, the one that created this life. I give gratitude to something in my life. So often, because, I forgot to mention, yes, about 30 years ago, I was hit by a car as a pedestrian. It really changes your day, let me tell you. And honestly, yeah, it changes your life. I couldn't talk about that for years. And now I'm so grateful for that experience, and also the wonky kidney from the age of 2, because those lessons, those life lessons, really taught me so much. So that is my number one tip, is to, before you get out of bed, practice gratitude. So for me, I spent years not being able to dress myself, not being able to take care of myself, even the daily habits or daily hygiene, which could be really humiliating. But you know what? It's empowering also, because I felt motivated to do something different to change that. So gratitude, even for the smallest things, like our senses. Thank you. I'm so grateful for the sense of smell. I can wake up and smell the coffee. I'm grateful for my hearing, so I could hear that alarm, which might have been annoying to you a minute ago, right? I'm so grateful for my sight, so I can see the beautiful sun beaming through the windows. I'm so grateful for ease of movement, right? As opposed to waking up in another way and grumbling about those things that first thing in the morning you can get annoyed by. So wake up with gratitude is my number one tip. And if you keep a gratitude journal, good for you. Kudos. Writing. So I'm also, I have an education background, and I know that we learn things by hearing, by seeing. Many of us are visual learners, and by experiencing, hands-on or kinesthetic learners. Oftentimes we just like delve into things and we experience them. And that's the best way to learn for most of us, and the way to remember it, often to hear a story about it too. We feel like we've been there. And then to cement that learning, you write it down. So that's where the gratitude journaling will come in and really serve you really well. And it will cement that feeling of gratitude for the day. What a beautiful way to start the day. I wish that for you. So join me in gratitude journaling. So number 2, the very first thing you do in the morning is drink a tall glass of water. So I'm doing myself a favor and using a wine glass. I even have a cute little wine charm that has a birdhouse on it. It reminds me of my lovely mom. So lemon water is a really good thing. Room temperature, not too cold, not too hot, just at room temperature, lemon water. Now I use essential oils. I'm an essential oil specialist and educator. So I just drop 1 drop of lemon essential oil into my glass or stainless steel or ceramic water. And what that does is a gentle detox, because the impurities and the toxins come out of your body at night. That's how your body processes things. And you want to make sure that those things are flushed out, right? So very first thing in the morning, even before your coffee. I knew someone would ask that. So a tall glass of water, and if you can add lemon to it, it's even better. I use the essential oil of lemon because it's so much easier to add a drop of this than it is to use all the fresh lemons. So another thing, Stay hydrated during the day. That's a good reminder. At that time, you can fill up your water bottle. That's habit stacking. You are getting your water for the morning, the first thing. I help myself to swallow it, to gulp the whole thing down by just taking 7 swallows at a time. So 7 to me in my mind, that number means complete and finished. So 7 swallows of water, but before I know it, the glass is gone. And get yourself a pretty, maybe a wine glass that you love. You could decorate it, a paint on it, go to a paint and sip or something, and do that. So simple, easy ways. So number 3 is get out of here. That means don't go hitchhiking, because that could be dangerous unless you're really wild. So take a walk outside every day. Get yourself outside in the fresh air and the sunshine in your eyeballs. It will raise your vibrational frequency out in nature. Okay, I'm going to breeze through the rest of these. And the next one is move it or lose it. You've heard that, right? So I also heard another presenter talk about joy, and joy comes in the movement as well. So joyful lymphatic movement, when you dance even around your kitchen or shimmy, do that with me so I don't feel so silly. Just try to move those shoulders. Joyful lymphatic movement also gets those toxins moving out of your system. Our lymphatic system needs facilitation to move the lymph fluid, and joyful lymphatic fluid along with that water really helps to do that. You also want to eat the rainbow. So what does that mean? You don't want to be a leprechaun. Well, it would be nice to eat what's at the end of the rainbow in the pot of gold, right? So what I mean by this is eat an array of colors. So always have an array of colors. Organic is ideal if you can get organic food, or more organic. If you're not eating organic and this sounds too overwhelming to you, maybe add one new thing to your grocery list each week or each month and try that, and just keep adding until you feel better, because you will feel better. You have less toxins, and the less processed foods you eat will be better. Also add some greens, just those keep you moving. Fiber is a magic word. And take some quality vitamins. So what you put in and on your body makes a difference. And that brings me to ditch the toxins. That is really key, and really toxins compromise your immune system. You have toxins everywhere, in your makeup, in your laundry, in your cleaning products. You can ditch the toxins, you'll be better off. And pay attention to my Facebook group. I have lots of videos on there about how to ditch toxins and how to eat the rainbow and all of these other things. So I forgot what number I'm on, but I'm sure you can get all of these. I'll list them later. So also you want to roar like a lion, R, rest, relax, and restore. So take a deep breath and just relax. And the first one never counts. So take 2 deep breaths with me. In, I heard the 4 square breathing, hold it, and out. That resets your vagus nerve, also helps your lymphatic system to release the toxins. And you can de-stress. Is going to help everyone. It's going to help you and everyone you come in contact with, even on the phone or text, because you know that stress is relayed through any communication you have. And then, I use essential oils. So I also use essential oils to relax. Before I came on here, I was getting excited to share with you. But you know what? It's a natural thing for like public speaking. So I always use I roll on my essential oils, just put it on my wrist, and I'm set to go. So that is a beautiful thing. And I keep them where I can see them. That's habit stacking, right? So then I also often diffuse essential oils, and diffusing them before you go to sleep to set the environment is so key. And that is another habit stacking example. You get ready for bed, you have a routine, and then you also add into the routine maybe dimming the lights, shutting off the screen time, any screen time, before an hour before bedtime. And that will set the stage for quality sleep, and also to help your mind calm down. Essential oils are good for that as well, and all of these things. So I have a bonus. I have a bonus for you today because I couldn't stop. Like the other presenters, I'm passionate about what I do and helping you to be your optimal wellness in your whole body, in your holistic body, in your mind and your thoughts, and in your physical body, and in your spiritual wellness as well. So your gut health is another key. You got to keep it healthy, and that is your wealth. And that is a pretty good list, I think. So eat the rainbow, take good vitamins, walk outside daily, move it or lose it. Gratitude, that should be number one, right? Don't shit on yourself. Hydrate, RRR, rest, relax, and restore. Gut health, and ditch the toxins. That should be 8 things. Maybe you got 9. Good for you.
Wow. Can I just say, wow? I mean, that is so important. I mean, if you can follow even half of these, it's amazing how much your life changes.
Yes, and they're simple techniques to practice anytime you can, right, Haley?
All the time. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
Do I have a favorite? You know, for me, meditation and gratitude every day has become a requirement.
Beautiful.
To ditch the stress. And then everything else sort of flows from those.
Yeah.
If I can start with the meditation and the gratitude, it makes everything else easier.
It does. When you start the day with gratitude, your whole world changes. Try it.
It does.
Maybe that's the best
Absolutely.
one to try. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being a guest here, y'all. Let's give Diane a huge round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for everybody who has stuck with us as we have done this March 2023 WEN Talk. I am blown away by our amazing speakers, and I am so grateful, and I am so filled with gratitude, and my cup overflow with all of the amazing information that everybody has shared today. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of our speakers, for everybody who has watched, and everybody who will watch these recordings. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have an awesome rest of your week and an awesome rest of your day. Thanks.
You too, Haley. Bye-bye.